I was kicked out of my house on Christmas Eve by my own mother. She stood at the bottom of the stairs, arms crossed, my suitcase already packed and waiting by the door like a final insult. I still remember the way her lips curled, like she was doing me a favor. "You're old enough to figure it out," she said. "Your brother needs the space. My brother, Ryan. Golden boy. He had just flunked out of his second college, crashed my old car, the one I paid off, and somehow ended up living in my old room. I was 28, quiet, employed, and invisible. No one blinked when I used my savings to help Dad cover the mortgage after his stroke. No one mentioned how many nights I skipped sleep nursing him while Mom caught up on Real Housewives. But they all had opinions when I asked to delay rent by 2 weeks after my hours were cut. "If you can't contribute, you shouldn't be here," Mom said. That was 2 weeks before Christmas. I got a gift-wrapped eviction notice, complete with a lecture on self-reliance. The worst part? Ryan threw a party that night. I stood outside in the snow with my suitcase while they blasted Post Malone and played beer pong with my old mugs. I stayed with my friend Danny for a while, sleeping on a couch that smelled like weed and cat pee. I smiled through it, laughed it off, pretended it was temporary, but something inside me cracked. It wasn't just Christmas Eve. It was every birthday I paid for my own cake, every time Ryan was bailed out and I was called selfish, every single holiday I cooked and cleaned while they praised him for showing up. I was the family secretary, chauffeur, bank, and therapist until I wasn't useful anymore. I tried to swallow it, tell myself they didn't mean it. But one night, Danny walked in to find me sitting on her bathroom floor holding my phone like a lifeline. I'd just seen Mom's Facebook post, a picture of the family around the tree. Ryan in my seat. My name not even mentioned. "You know that's abuse, right?" she said. I wanted to argue. I wanted to believe I was overreacting. But all I felt was a cold, numb kind of clarity. The moment I knew I could disappear and they wouldn't notice. Hell, they might celebrate. That night, I stopped crying, and I started planning. It started small. I stopped calling. No more birthday reminders, grocery drop-offs, or just checking in texts. At first, it was quiet. Too quiet. Then the texts came. From Mom, "Hope you're okay." From Ryan, "You mad or something?" Then came the guilt. "Family is everything. We miss you. Dad would want us together." Dad, the only one who halfway saw me. Gone now, and with him, any buffer between me and Mom's emotional acid. Ryan knew how to play her like a violin. Me? I was the one expected to apologize for bleeding. When I didn't reply, they upped the ante. Ryan showed up at my work, loudly, said he just wanted to talk. My manager asked me afterward if I was okay. I told her everything. She offered me a promotion to relocate to the next city over. I said yes, before the words finished leaving her mouth. They found out and exploded. "Running away doesn't fix things," Mom texted. Wow. "I guess family doesn't mean shit to you," Ryan added. No, I thought, it doesn't. Not when it only goes one way. I didn't post a forwarding address. I didn't send a Christmas card. And when Danny and I clinked glasses in our tiny apartment, I felt something I hadn't in years. Safety. But then came the mail, an envelope with my name in Mom's handwriting. Inside, a court notice. My name had been removed from the family trust. I laughed, and then I got angry. Because what they didn't know, the new city wasn't just a job. It was where I'd quietly filed the patent paperwork for the automation system I built for Dad's old company, the same system Ryan now managed, the same one keeping their business afloat. They fired me, but I own the patent. And I was just getting started. The first week in the new city felt like a reboot, like I had escaped a glitchy game and finally reinstalled myself somewhere I could breathe. I didn't unpack everything. I didn't hang any pictures, I just worked. I woke up, went to the lab, coded, built, tinkered, ate dinner in silence, scrolled Reddit like it was a support group I never knew I needed. And still somewhere under that newfound peace was a raw, humming nerve, because the silence wasn't mutual. It started with texts, then calls, then a group chat I never asked to be in. "Mom, just wanted to let you know Ryan's working so hard lately. The business is thriving. I'm proud of him. Ryan, Lowell heard you're in Cleveland or something. You always did love running away. Mom, it's never too late to come home. Mom, I miss my daughter. Mom, why are you doing this to me? To her, not to myself, not because of them, not for survival, but to her. It was like breathing paint fumes, nauseating and inescapable. I didn't reply. I didn't block them either. I wanted to see the rot, to remind myself why I left. When I didn't respond, the love bombing curdled fast. Mom, you've changed. Mom, your father would be ashamed. Ryan, you think you're better than us now? Ryan, hope that big brain of yours can afford therapy, Elmo. I didn't flinch. Not even when Ryan's girlfriend DM'd me at 2 a.m., drunk typing about how I abandoned the family. She attached a blurry pic of their new apartment funded by the company I built, off the system I created. The irony tasted like blood. What they didn't know, I'd been slowly detaching for years. Every time they dismissed my work as just engineering stuff or called my job a cute little office thing, every time Ryan paraded around with my ideas in meetings and Dad let him just to keep peace, every time Mom asked why I talked so technical at dinner, like clarity was aggression. Now that I was gone, they needed me more than ever. The automation system I designed ran the backbone of our warehouse, predictive loading, shipment tracking, adaptive scaling, all of it tied to my architecture. And I'd licensed it to them under one condition, a renewable contract every 18 months, signed by me exclusively, revocable. They didn't read the fine print. They were too busy celebrating Ryan's fake CEO glow up, so I stopped renewing, quietly, legally, cleanly, 18 months from Dad's stroke. 3 months from now, let them burn. But until then, they tried everything. Mom called my new office pretending to be a concerned parent, left voicemails about how I might be mentally unstable. My boss called me in and played the tape. She said, "You've been under a lot of stress," she said carefully. "Do you need time off?" I didn't scream. I smiled. "I'm fine," I said. "Just have a very creative family." The next week, my old email attached to the company site was mysteriously reactivated. I received a password reset link, then another, then a Dropbox alert. Ryan was trying to access the original project files, the ones I'd wiped before I left, the ones I now held exclusively, offline, encrypted, patent protected. Still, I could see the panic through his desperation. I screenshotted everything, saved the voicemails, flagged the IPs, and waited. But waiting didn't mean sitting still. I went to therapy, started telling the whole truth, not the Instagram version. I joined a Women in Tech Founders Circle. I registered a new LLC, then another, then built a shell company so clean it made Google look like amateur hour. And through it all, I didn't say a word to them. But silence has a sound, and they were finally starting to hear it. One night, while eating cereal on my IKEA futon, my phone lit up, an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. It was Mom, crying. "This family is falling apart," she sobbed. "You were the glue. And now, everything's cracking. Ryan's been having breakdowns. He's not eating. He misses his sister." The pause after that was long. So long, I thought she'd hung up. Then please, just tell us what we did wrong. I should have felt triumphant. But instead, I stared at the spoon in my hand and thought, you already knew. You just never cared. The thing is, when you carry the emotional weight of a family, people only notice when you set it down. And I wasn't lifting a finger. I went to bed that night thinking about the trust they'd cut me out of, the business they stole, the childhood I spent trying to earn space at the table. And I realized, maybe they didn't cut me out. Maybe the first stepped away first. They just noticed too late. 2 weeks later, Danny found me sketching mock-ups at 3 a.m. "What are you building?" she asked sleepily. "My own company," I said. "Name?" I paused. "Ecosystems. Because echoes come back, but only when you let them. The next phase was coming. They wouldn't see it, but they'd feel it. Soon. It started unraveling faster than I expected. I got the first inkling when Ryan emailed me at my Ecosystems address. The subject line, "Quick question code access like we were college classmates swapping notes." Like he didn't try to steal my work, erase me from my own family. and then inherit the throne I built. I didn't answer, but I watched. I logged into their backend, the one still linked to my admin dashboard, and saw the panic ripple in their server logs. Query errors, bot backend crashes, automation loop failures. They were trying to update the system. Without me, amateurs. 2 days later, I got a call from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, my dad's old business partner, Neil. He sounded older, tired, but still sharp. "Hey, kiddo, look, I know things got weird after your dad passed, but I need to ask, did you build the adaptive routing system, the one they used to manage warehouse loads?" "Yes," I said. There was silence on the line. "Did you patent it?" I smiled into the receiver. "Yes." Another pause. Then a whistle. Jesus Christ! No wonder they're losing their minds. That was the moment I knew it had begun. Ryan had told everyone the company was undergoing a tech migration. In reality, they were locked out of the system that ran 80% of their logistics. Inventory wasn't syncing. Orders weren't shipping. Drivers were showing up with the wrong manifests. Clients were bailing. And all of it was because I'd pulled the license 2 weeks before the renewal deadline. Legally, I owed them nothing. They breached our silent agreement the moment they removed me from the trust and fired me without cause. I had the receipts, the contracts, the IP filings, and one very curious ally in Neil, who now had some regrets of his own. He told me Ryan had been bragging that I was just the back-end girl, that I liked to tinker but didn't understand real business, that he was cleaning house and making the company modern. The irony made me lightheaded. I gave Neil access to a limited demo of my new system: real-time routing, AI-optimized logistics, voice integration for drivers. Within 2 days, he made me an offer, quietly, privately, an investment deal through his holding company in exchange for a license to beta test my software with one of his new startups. I agreed, on one condition: no one from my family touches it, ever. He didn't even flinch. "I don't blame you," he said. "They used your genius like a mop, then acted shocked when the floor collapsed." By the end of the month, 3 of my family's biggest clients had quietly jumped ship. No announcement, just canceled contracts and overnight switches to a new logistics partner, my partner. Ryan must have felt it. I could practically hear him pacing. The phone calls started again. Blocked, emails, deleted. Then he did the stupidest thing possible. He called Danny, left a long, rambling voicemail on her phone, slurring like he'd been drinking. "I know she's there. Tell her to pick up." I didn't mean to screw her over, okay? Mom was the one who she wanted her out. Said she was too opinionated. I don't know. Tell her I'm sorry, all right? Click. He didn't know Danny had been recording every interaction since the day I left that house. She was the kind of friend who saw storms coming and built levees before you even knew you were drowning. We compiled a file. Voicemails, emails, internal memos where Ryan claimed ownership of the code. Texts from my mom with snide little digs about how some kids need to be humbled before they can be useful. Useful. That word sat in my throat like acid. But the piece de resistance? A recorded call from the week before they fired me, Dad and me, talking through the final licensing details. He'd made me promise to protect it. Said, "You deserve to own your work. Don't let anyone take it from you, not even me." He'd signed everything over. Quietly, humbly, fully. Because unlike the rest of them, he knew exactly what I was worth. It took everything not to cry listening to that again. But I didn't cry. I got a lawyer. I didn't sue, not yet. I didn't need to. I sent a formal cease and desist to Ryan's office with a 72-hour window. The letter outlined every violation, every breach, and every clause they'd ignored. It came with screenshots, evidence, quotes, and a very specific demand: permanently cease usage of the patent and software, or face litigation. No threats. Just law. I sent the same letter to every major client still on their roster. Danny and I spent that night eating noodles on the floor, laughing every time my inbox pinged with a client BCCING me. A thank you for the heads up. We'll be terminating our contract. By the time the 72 hours ended, they'd lost nearly half their accounts. The rest? Already in talks with ecosystems. And just like that, Ryan's empire propped up on my shoulders started cracking. I heard from my aunt a week later. A long, sad email full of phrases like I had no idea and you always were the smart one. Then came the message that nearly undid me. Mom, please come home. Ryan's not well. He can't handle all this. We need you. I need you. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied with the only words I had left. No, no apologies, no long explanations. Just no, because the truth was out now. Everyone could see it. The girl they'd ignored, cut off, and underestimated, she didn't vanish. She evolved. And she was done being useful. They say karma takes time. But sometimes, it wears heels and shows up early. The fallout began in whispers. A quiet phone call to HR at their warehouse, an anonymous tip about financial discrepancies and IP theft, a lawyer's inquiry from a competitor about who really designed the automation backbone. Then came the audit. Ryan tried to spin it, said it was just a routine review. But anyone paying attention could see it. The meetings got shorter. The clients got colder. His Instagram went quiet. Even his girlfriend stopped posting those obnoxious CEO Bay photos. I didn't watch it out of spite. I watched it like someone finally turning off a fire alarm after years of pretending they couldn't hear it. The company's stock valuation dropped by 38% in 3 weeks. Their biggest warehouse temporarily shut down due to system instability. And Mom? She started calling my aunt, crying, complaining about how the stress was making her sick. Funny. No mention of the trust fund she took my name off of. No mention of how she stood there while they packed my bags, treating me like luggage left behind after a bad vacation. She wanted a reunion. I wanted justice. And justice was methodical. I didn't make a public post. I didn't air them out online. No dramatic speeches, no teary reunions, no shouting in rainstorms. I just kept pressing. The nail in the coffin came from the most unexpected place. A junior developer still working under Ryan, someone I'd trained years ago, back when I was still hopeful and stupid, and thought being irreplaceable meant being valued. He reached out one night via LinkedIn, of all places. Said he'd found my new company and admired what I was doing. Then he added, carefully, I think you should know they're trying to rebuild your system with offshore freelancers. It's not going well. Attached, screenshots, Slack threads, project briefs with code snippets that looked like a toddler tried to copy-paste Stack Overflow into a Word doc. Internal emails panicking about dependency failures, incorrect outputs, and legal exposure. I forwarded it all to my lawyer. He chuckled. They're panicking. You don't need to sue. Just keep doing what you're doing. So I did. We signed 3 new clients the next week. Then I did something small but final. I sent Mom a card, not a text, not a call, a card, cream-colored, elegant. Inside, handwritten in ink, thank you for teaching me to stand on my own. I just never realized that meant standing without you. I never heard back. Not from her, not from Ryan, not from anyone who mattered. But I heard from their former CFO, a quiet woman named Marlene, who'd always been polite to me, always offered a smile in meetings, even when the room was stacked against me. She emailed me one sentence, should have been you at the top. One didn't reply. I didn't need to, because at that point, I was busy closing a deal with a Fortune 100 shipping company. They wanted to license ecosystems for nationwide distribution. Danny and I drank champagne on the kitchen floor that night. We should frame that card, she joked, like a museum exhibit. Exhibit A, how to bury a narcissistic legacy in 10 words or less. I laughed until my stomach hurt. But beneath it was something quieter, softer, not victory, not vindication, something closer to peace. And then came the call I didn't expect, a number I hadn't seen in years. My grandfather, Dad's father. He lived 2 states over. I hadn't heard from him since the funeral. He never got involved in the family mess, just sat back in silence while the chaos unfolded like a slow-motion train wreck. But he called me now. I've been watching, he said simply. I don't want anything, I told him, voice flat. I know, he replied. That's why I'm calling. He told me he'd changed his will. Quietly. Said he was proud of me. Said Dad would have been too. He wasn't offering an olive branch. He was passing the torch. You built something from nothing, he said. They built their life off of you. There's a difference. I cried for the first time in months after that call. Not for the past, not for them, but for the girl I used to be, the one who just wanted to be seen, chosen, fought for. I fought for her now. I gave her a home, a company, a future, a life that didn't revolve around waiting for someone else's scraps. And the family? They kept spiraling. Ryan tried to launch a YouTube channel. It flopped. Mom started posting vague Facebook statuses. Stuff like "you think you know people," her friends commented hearts. She left them unread. My aunt sent me one last update. Ryan had a breakdown. Moved back home. Mom was burnt out. There was talk of selling the house. She ended the message with, "I hope you're happy now." And you know what? I was. Not because they were hurting, but because I finally wasn't. I'd stopped bleeding for people who never offered a bandage. I'd built something real, ethical, lasting. And every time I signed a new client, or mentored a young woman in tech, or just walked down the street with my head high and my phone blessedly quiet, I felt it. Power. But the kind that doesn't shout. The kind that no one can take. Freedom didn't feel the way I thought it would. There wasn't a finish line. No fanfare. No slow motion hug with violins swelling behind me. It felt like walking barefoot across a cold kitchen floor at 6 a.m., coffee in hand, and realizing I hadn't thought about them in days. It felt like forgetting their birthdays. Like looking in the mirror and seeing a woman, not a daughter-shaped utility belt. 3 months after the last cease and desist was sent, I walked into a conference room in San Francisco wearing a suit I bought with my own money, from a boutique that tailored to women who didn't need to be told how to take up space. Ecosystems closed its series, a funding round with a $4.5 million valuation. I didn't tell anyone in my family. They found out anyway. Because toxic people don't watch your growth to celebrate you. They watch it to measure how far you've drifted from their control. The same week TechCrunch published the article about my patent and company, I got a message from Ryan, just 3 words. "Can we talk?" I didn't respond. He followed up. "Mom's been sick. She's not herself. Things are falling apart here." I kept scrolling. Then came the Facebook message from my cousin, the one who used to call me the robot girl because I liked fixing things more than talking at family dinners. "I saw your article. Damn. You really did it?" Mom said they're thinking of selling the business. Ryan's blaming the software thing. "You good?" I stared at that last part. "You good?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to write back, "Where the hell were you when I was sleeping on a cat-stained couch after being kicked out on Christmas Eve? When Mom told the world I was selfish for moving away? When Ryan stole my work and smiled through it? But instead, I just wrote, yeah, I'm good. And I was. Good meant I slept through the night. Good meant I no longer jumped when I got a call from an unknown number. Good meant I smiled more than I apologized. But there were still moments quiet, aching ones. Like when I passed the street near the old office and felt the ghost of my younger self, sitting in that conference room watching Ryan present my work while Mom texted me passive-aggressive emojis from the family group chat. Or when I found an old recipe card in my moving box, my dad's handwriting labeled her favorite lemon bars. I sat on the floor and cried, the kind of soft cry that feels less like drowning and more like rinsing off. Then I baked them. And I didn't offer a single one to anyone who'd expect it. I no longer owed anyone my sweetness. The next family event came and went. Easter brunch. Someone tagged me in a group photo I clearly wasn't invited to. Mom wore pastel like a politician. Ryan looked bloated and sour, and the caption read, "Family first. Always." I didn't comment, but I did notice the cake. One of the lemon bars, a copy, from a bakery. The wrong shade, over-baked edges. It looked pretty, but I knew it wasn't mine. And maybe that's the point. They kept building imitations of love. I stopped craving the fake. A few weeks later, I got a letter. Real paper, wax seal. My grandfather had passed. He left me his tools, his journals, a vintage watch I used to play with when I was a kid. Inside one journal was a folded piece of paper, a note in his scratchy pen, "They'll never understand you. That's okay. Build anyway." That day I stopped asking why they didn't choose me. And I chose myself. The company kept growing. We hired our 10th engineer, a single mom, who left a toxic job after being told she was too emotional to lead. She now runs our entire product division. We take lunch breaks. We cancel meetings for mental health. We work hard, but we don't bleed for approval. One Friday, Danny asked if I ever missed them. She was stirring tea, staring at the rain out our office window. Not them, I said, but the version of them I hoped they'd be. She nodded. Sometimes grief isn't about losing someone. It's about giving up the hope that they'll ever become someone who deserved you. And that's the kind of grief you don't bury, you outgrow. I stopped hoping for apologies. I started designing a mentorship program for girls in STEM who'd been told they were too intense or too quiet or too much. Because sometimes revenge is giving the next you a softer place to land. My mom tried calling again a few weeks after that. New number. Left a voicemail. It's been so long. I don't even know what to say anymore. I think about you every day. Ryan's struggling. He's not well. Neither am I. We're family. We make mistakes. Can't we start over? I stared at my phone, then hit delete. Not out of anger, out of clarity, because she didn't want a relationship. She wanted access. And I wasn't a door anymore. Last month, I stood on stage at a tech summit. The lights were hot, the room packed, my heels digging into the carpet. They introduced me as the woman who built the system that rebuilt the industry. I talked about code, about resilience, about the architecture of systems and the architecture of trust. And at the end, someone asked, "What would you say to people who say you were too cold? That you should have forgiven, tried harder, gone back?" I smiled, and I said, "They said I was heartless, but for once, I put my heart first." The applause felt like thunder, but the peace afterward? That felt like home. Story 2, as usual, Martha Brown was in her sun-drenched kitchen making coffee. Even though it had been 2 years since her retirement, she continued to rise early, just like she did when she was an elementary school teacher. She continued to follow her strict daily schedule. Martha thought she should water the flower bed today as she looked at it through the window. She grinned softly when she saw a red cardinal settle on the birdhouse. "Grandma, good morning." I turned to face the animated voice that exploded into the kitchen. Noah was standing there, his arms out. He was wearing his jammies. Martha smiled uncontrollably. The 4-year-old's large blue eyes were already glistening with excitement for adventure, despite his light brown hair being disheveled from sleep. "Greetings, little spaceman." "Which planets are you currently investigating?" As she raised her grandchild, Martha inquired. "The Moon and Mars. And that Saturn?" "Indeed, Saturn, the ring-wearing one." Noah joyfully clapped his hands. After placing Noah in his high chair, Martha started preparing breakfast pancakes. While her daughter Olivia worked early hours at the hospital, she took care of her grandson 3 days a week. Olivia was employed at the nearby main hospital as a nurse, really enthusiastic about her job on the pediatric ward. Olivia's approach was signaled by the sound of footsteps coming down the stairs. Her blonde hair was tied up in a handy ponytail, and she was dressed in her nurse's outfit. "Mom, good morning. Once more you prepared breakfast. Many thanks." As usual, Olivia gave Martha a cheek kiss. She caressed her son's head while hurriedly pouring coffee into a mug. "Being good and not bothering Grandma this morning. My career goal is to become an astronaut," Noah said with pride. "I have no doubt that you will be," although Martha could see the fatigue in her eyes. Olivia gave a soft smile. "Has Thomas returned home yet, Mom?" Martha flipped a pancake in response. "Late yesterday night, he arrived. At about 1 a.m, I heard his car arrive. He ought to be sleeping upstairs in the guest room." Olivia's face briefly became hazy. "Most likely another issue at the location. Lately, he has been quite busy." Olivia's husband, Thomas, was employed by a nearby construction business as a site supervisor. 3 years ago, he wed Olivia, a tall guy with wide shoulders. His earnest demeanor and hard work had gained him Martha's trust. It must be hard for him, at least until lately. When Martha saw her daughter's distressed countenance, she comforted her. Frequently, construction sites don't proceed as planned. He is also in a position of accountability. Olivia let out a quiet sigh. "I am aware. Recently, though," she stopped in the middle of her sentence to look at her kid. "Later, we will discuss." Martha poured maple syrup, nodded, and positioned freshly prepared pancakes in front of Noah. She acted as though she was unaware of the conflict between her daughter and her son-in-law. Olivia had been getting angrier lately, and Thomas had been arriving home later. Although Martha was aware of the little shift in their relationship, she made an effort to remain composed, particularly in front of her grandson. Noah and I are going to daycare today. Martha brought up another topic. So you can concentrate on your job, I'll come get him at 3. Mom, it is really helpful. Olivia smiled appreciatively. Enjoy your day at Bright Star Daycare today, Noah. Will Lily be here? Noah inquired. His face was covered in syrup. As she responded, Martha dabbed at his mouth. You will, I'm sure. I take it that Lily is your friend? Noah's classmate Lily and he established a tight relationship right away. Martha had had conversations with Rachel, Lily's mother, who is involved in the PDA. Rachel was a sophisticated, attractive woman who always looked put together. But lately, Martha had observed that Rachel had started to treat her coldly. Previously, they would greet one another with a grin, but in recent weeks, Rachel appeared to be completely avoiding eye contact. Breakfast is ready, Thomas. No one answered when Olivia yelled up the stairs. The look of disappointment on her daughter's face was not missed by Martha. He's worn out. Give him a bit more time to sleep. Martha spoke softly, but she was starting to feel a little resentful of her son-in-law, whom she had considered to be her son. Martha took Noah to Bright Star childcare after breakfast. This daycare establishment, one of the most respected in the area, was situated in an Oakwood suburban neighborhood. When Olivia and Thomas arrived at the daycare, they were persuaded to send Noah there by the large playground, the well-lit classrooms, and most importantly, the knowledgeable staff. Taking Noah by the hand, Martha went inside. Parents were dropping off their kids one by one during the hectic morning hours. Near the entryway, Martha caught a glimpse of Rachel Rutherford. As Martha came over, she was whispering something in Lily's ear and kissing her goodbye. Rachel, clearly tense, nodded slightly and rushed off. Miss S. Brown, good morning. Noah, you appear energized today. Carol Jenkins, a childcare instructor, smiled as she welcomed them. The kids adored her very much. Carol, good morning. I appreciate you looking after him today. Martha returned the smile. Grandma. Noah waved goodbye and hurried off to join his buddies in the play area. Martha looked at her mobile phone's messages on the way home. Olivia sent a text message. I need to discuss Thomas with you tonight, Mom. Martha let out a long sigh. After all, there appeared to be an issue. She silently prayed that her cherished grandson Noah's grin would never go away and that there would always be harmony in the family. After quickly checking her watch, Martha parked her vehicle in the Bright Star daycare lot. The time was 3:00. It's time to go get Noah. However, something didn't feel right today. Carol was standing at the doorway, looking concerned rather than smiling her normal soft grin. I was going to give you a call, Mrs. Brown. Carol's voice was low. It appears like Noah is not feeling well today. Martha went straight to the classroom after Carol, sitting on a couch in the corner. Noah had a dejected and wan appearance, very different from the vivacious person he usually is. What's the matter? Noah? Grandma is here. Speaking quietly, Martha knelt before her grandchild. With a little head raise, Noah gave a feeble response. My stomach aches. He's been lying down since he began complaining of stomach problems this afternoon. Carol clarified that although he doesn't have a temperature, he isn't acting like himself. By placing a palm on Noah's forehead, Martha verified that he did not have a temperature. Carol, thank you. I'm going to drive him home. Noah sagged in the back seat and hardly talked. Martha placed her grandson on the couch and wrapped him with a thin blanket as soon as they arrived home. The hospital must have been busy since she was only able to leave a message when she contacted Olivia to explain the issue. After you get some rest, you'll feel better, Martha replied, caressing Noah's hair. Although she was secretly anxious, her grandson's lack of energy was out of the ordinary. When Olivia came home that night, Noah was feeling a little better. Despite his lack of appetite, he managed to consume a little amount of soup. What did he eat, I wonder? Olivia inquired anxiously. At childcare, did they provide something different? Martha gave a head shake. Carol reports that their lunch and snacks were the same as normal. By tomorrow, I believe he will be well. That forecast turned out to be accurate. Noah was fully recovered and back to his normal, vivacious self by the next morning. Olivia and Martha felt a sense of relief, assuming it had only been a little annoyance. But a few days later, Noah became sick once more. Grandma, this time Noah burst into tears as he raced into the kitchen as Martha was cooking dinner. My stomach aches. Noah experienced nausea many times during this episode, which was more severe than the last one. When Olivia arrived home, she brought Noah to see a doctor in the area. The diagnosis was not clear. Mild gastroenteritis might be the cause. According to the doctor, stomach problems are common among children. At this age, they have dietary sensitivity. For a period, feed him things that are easy to digest and observe his reaction. Following the doctor's recommendations, Olivia and Martha were particularly mindful of Noah's food. After a few days of observation, Noah appeared to have recovered his vigor. Youngsters might become unwell and then recover in an instant. Even though Martha didn't feel quite right, she told Olivia. The next Thursday was Bright Star Daycare's observation day, when parents and grandparents could observe the daycare's activities. Olivia was unable to leave the hospital because of an emergency surgery, therefore Martha was going to attend in her stead. Many parents had already gathered at the childcare when Martha arrived. She watched Noah and his friends sing in a circle while she stood in a corner of the room grinning. At that moment, she noticed Rachel Rutherford across the room. With her eyes fixed on Martha, Rachel stood slightly away from the other moms. Her eyes had a chilly quality, and the way she gazed at Martha and Noah suggested that she was feeling something, perhaps even hatred. Martha shivered uncontrollably. When it was time for the kids to eat, Martha saw something intriguing. Lily offered Noah a tiny box when she sat next to him. Lily's remarks were welcomed by Noah, who grinned and nodded. Even though Martha couldn't hear what they were saying, she felt a little uncomfortable about the two of them exchanging anything. Carol was frowning a little as if she had seen the same thing. She approached Lily and said something, to which Lily responds, "My mommy gave it to me loud enough for Martha to hear," with an innocent giggle. Carol came up to Martha as she was about to depart with Noah at the conclusion of the observation day. "Do you have a moment, Miss S. Brown?" While they were a short distance apart, Carol started talking softly. "These days, I frequently witness Lily handing Noah something, most likely snacks. But sharing is forbidden by our rules. Brought some snacks from home with the other kids. You know, there are allergy issues. The fact that she was giving him something today surprised Martha. Is something wrong?" Carol appeared uncertain. "As yet, there isn't a direct issue. However, Mrs. Rutherford, Lily's mother, has been acting strangely lately, I've noticed. Don't you know who she is?" Martha gave a nod. "Indeed. Despite our numerous conversations, it seems like she has been avoiding me lately. The same impression has come to me." Carol scowled. "Perhaps there is only a miscommunication, but it could be wise to exercise caution." Olivia arrived home late that evening. There were marks of exhaustion on her face. Thomas wasn't back yet. "I need to talk to you, Mom." When Noah had gone to bed, Olivia was in the living room, facing Martha. She had crimson eyes that seemed to be holding tears. "What is it? What took place?" Martha grasped the hand of her daughter. After taking a big breath, Olivia remarked, "Thomas may be having an affair," in a quivering voice. Martha gave a start. "What? What makes you believe that?" "Lately, he has been acting oddly. He doesn't answer his phone, but he claims that work is the reason he's arriving home late, or he is slow to respond to communications." Olivia persisted in suppressing her emotions. "Additionally, I noticed communications from an unidentified woman on his phone last week. It was obvious that the subject matter went beyond a cordial friendship." Martha gave her daughter a firm embrace. "Did you question him about it?" Olivia gave a headshake. "Mom, I'm afraid. I want to keep this family safe if it's true for Noah's sake." Martha was at a loss for words. Thomas was a decent husband and father, and she had trusted him, but his recent actions were definitely questionable. Martha heard Thomas returning home late that evening. Although Olivia had already isolated herself in the bedroom, she heard Noah sobbing in the kitchen as Martha was sipping tea. Martha hurried to the chamber of her grandchild. "My stomach hurts a lot." Noah's face was twisted in agony as he sobbed. It was obvious that the agony was worse this time. Curled up, he was groaning in pain. Noah was rushed to the emergency department in the middle of the night by Martha, Olivia, and Thomas. The doctor's inspection revealed that it was just another gastrointestinal issue, but no one needed to be treated. In the hospital waiting area, Martha recalled Rachel's icy gaze, and the scenario when Lily was giving Noah something and Carol's remarks were recalled. It might be wise to exercise caution. Martha stared out the window into the darkness. Her heart was clouded by a troubling foreboding. A week went by. Noah's vitality had returned, and his condition had stabilized. However, Martha's heart was still filled with dread. Olivia and Thomas's relationship remained precarious. Thomas had alluded to impending deadlines for a significant project as the reason for his recent tardy homecomings, dispelling his wife's worries. As Martha watered the roses in her yard, Olivia appeared to believe what he had said, but there were still hints of uncertainty in her eyes. Abruptly, the mobile phone in her pocket started ringing. She glanced at Bright Star Daycare on the screen. She gave a rather surprised response. "Hi there. Martha Brown is this person." Brown, Mrs. Carroll's tone was rushed, obviously in distress. During nap time, Noah experienced an unexpected seizure. "Please arrive as soon as possible." Martha's face drained of blood, a convulsion. "I'll be there immediately. How about an ambulance?" "We've made one call already. It arrived just now. Did you get in touch with Olivia?" "Not quite yet. I felt you ought to be the first to know. I'll go over straight immediately. I get it." As soon as she ended the call, Martha hurried into the house after dropping her gardening equipment. She snatched up her money and vehicle keys and ran out the front door. She had lost her train of thought. The only thing propelling her body forward while driving was the notion that she had to be at Noah's side quickly. She gave Olivia a call. Luckily, she responded immediately. "Mom, what's the matter?" Olivia's voice could be heard over the telephone. "Olivia, Noah had an abrupt seizure," the daycare reported over the phone. "There's an ambulance." "I'm now en route." On the other end of the telephone, Martha's voice was trembling, despite her best efforts to stay composed. Olivia's breath caught, and Martha heard it. "What? Right now? I'm leaving. Please, Mom. If Noah suffers any harm," tears filled her voice. "Everything will work out. I'll accompany him. You also hurry." While driving to the childcare, Martha had to fight the want to run red lights. In less than 5 minutes, she was there. A trip that typically took 15 years. A number of childcare providers were gathered outside the daycare, looking concerned, while an ambulance was parked in front of the facility. With shaky legs, Martha sprang from the car and hurried into the premises. At that moment, Noah was being carried down the corridor by paramedics on a stretcher. With an oxygen mask on, Noah's face was pallid and his little body was still. "Noah." With a sigh, Martha called out and raced to her grandchild. "It's all right. Grandma is present." A paramedic turned toward her. "Are you his grandmother? We are transporting your grandson to the hospital for a thorough checkup, but he is stable. If you want to, feel free to ride along." Martha nodded and put her shaking hand in Noah's icy one. Carol came over to the sobbing at that point. "I'm really sorry, Mrs. Brown." Her voice broke abruptly with sobs during nap time. She then gave Martha a USB disk as her hands were trembling. "This video was captured by our security camera. Please watch it," she added quietly. She had worry and anxiety in her eyes. Bewildered, Martha accepted the USB and put it in her pocket for the moment. The life of her grandchild came first. Taking Noah's hand, she went inside the ambulance and started praying in a low voice. "No worries, Noah. Grandma is with you here." Her voice was shaking as she whispered. With its siren blasting, the ambulance made its way to the city hospital. When Noah arrived, he was brought right away to the pediatric emergency room, where medical professionals started treating him right away. Martha shivered as she sat in the waiting area. Additionally, she had called Thomas, who informed her that he was en route to the hospital around 20 minutes later. Breathless, Olivia hurried to the hospital. She had obviously left work quickly because she was still wearing her nurse's outfit. "Mom, how is Noah doing?" Her voice wavered in terror. "He is being examined by the physicians." Just as the seizure seemed to have ceased, a white-coated doctor entered the waiting area. "Are you members of the Brown family?" Martha and Olivia got up and rushed to the doctor. "His mother is me." "Is my son doing well?" Olivia frantically inquired. "The condition of your child is stable," the doctor said calmly. He is starting to regain awareness as the seizure has stopped. It was an allergic response, according to our testing. He could have consumed something that he doesn't often eat. We specifically suspect a severe allergy, such as peanuts. Olivia and Martha exchanged glances. But Noah, do you have any allergies? Olivia murmured, her expression bewildered. When children are exposed to a significant allergen for the first time, their allergies can sometimes manifest abruptly. The doctor clarified that we will know more when we receive the results of Noah's blood test. We are currently administering antihistamines and 4 fluids to him. He should be able to return home in a few hours, I believe. The doctor's comments caused the 2 women to exhale with relief, but Martha had another question growing in her thoughts. The USB disk in her pocket came back to her. Is he visible to us? Olivia inquired. Naturally. Please don't talk to him. He's still a little sleepy. The physician smiled as he spoke. 10 minutes later, Thomas reached the hospital. Sweating, he hurried in and gave Olivia a hug. No, is he okay? He is steady. In the arms of her husband, Olivia responded. It appears that an allergic response occurred. Martha was observing her son-in-law, whom she had considered to be a son. She experienced an odd feeling in her chest. Considering the USB stick Carol had handed her, his worry seemed sincere. She had the unshakable impression that there was a huge mystery concealed here. While Noah's hospital room was occupied by Olivia and Thomas, Martha stayed in the foyer of the hospital. After removing her laptop from her backpack, she put the USB drive in. Video from the childcare security camera was displayed on the screen. It appeared to be from this morning, based on the date. The pre-lunch snack period was filmed on camera. A teacher was passing out fruit and little biscuits to the children seated around little tables. Noah caught Martha's eye. He was grinning brightly as usual as he spoke to Lily, who was sitting next to him. Then it took place. Lily was seen in the video handing Noah something she had taken out of her suitcase. It's a secret, but it's a wonderful cookie. You could hear Lily's voice plainly. Accepting it, Noah put it in his mouth with an inquisitive look. After silently staring at the TV, Martha became aware of an adult figure standing in the corner of the video. Rachel Rutherford was the one. She appeared to be an observer in the classroom. The sight of Rachel nodding slightly and turning to face Lily was what made Martha's blood freeze. She had given Lily instructions and was observing as Lily gave it to Noah. Martha gave a start. Not simply kids were exchanging food here. There had been a plan. She pulled out her cell phone and dialed the cops with shaking hands. About 20 minutes after Martha's call, the cops showed up at the hospital. Outside of Noah's hospital room, young man investigator Michael Jensen and veteran female detective Linda Carter started a discreet conversation with Martha. Can you show us the video? Detective Linda's tone was stern yet calm as she questioned. Playing the video on the USB drive, Martha unlocked her laptop. The detectives looked at each other and watched silently, especially at the time where Rachel was watching in the background and Lily was giving Noah something. This definitely needs to be investigated, Linda stated gravely. Have you received the results of your grandson's tests yet? The doctor stated it was an allergic response, but not yet, Martha replied. At that moment, Miss S. Brown was approached by a white-coated doctor. The test results are in our possession. Noah has severe peanut allergy symptoms. His system was found to have peanut protein. Martha gave a start. We haven't fed him peanuts, though. Thomas and Olivia would not have been aware of his sensitivities. When someone is exposed to a significant allergen for the first time, they may develop allergies, the physician clarified. However, based on the video and the doctor's statement, it is possible that it was given to him on purpose. The cops started looking into it right away. While Detective Linda went to Rachel Rutherford's house to get in touch with her, Detective Michael went to Bright Star Childcare to collect further evidence. Olivia and Thomas were deeply horrified when they learned about the scenario. The possibility that her son was purposefully put in jeopardy made Olivia, in particular, go pale. However, why? What might possibly motivate Miss S. Rutherford to harm Noah? Olivia's voice was shaking as she asked. I'm not sure, Martha said, giving her daughter a firm embrace. However, the truth will be revealed by the police. One possibility, though, had already surfaced in her heart. Thomas was having an affair with this lady. Is Rachel the culprit? Detective Linda returned to the hospital a few hours later. Her face looked severe, as if she had discovered something important. After being shown the video footage, Rachel Rutherford acknowledged that she had told her daughter Lily to give Noah peanut-containing cookies, despite her earlier denials. In a low voice, she described how awful Martha's voice was. However, why? Linda, the detective, sighed deeply. "It was me," she admits. "All I said to Lily was that they would become friends if I gave Noah a special cookie. My daughter has no knowledge." Martha and Olivia exchanged shaky glances. Detective Linda wasn't done, though, because we looked into her cell phone and discovered offensive messages she had sent to Thomas Bradshaw. There was a thick quiet in the room. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. Thomas put his hands over his face and looked down at the ground. "Is it true, Thomas?" Olivia spoke in a shaky, weak voice. Thomas simply nodded slightly, unable to raise his head. At the police station, he will now be subjected to formal questioning. Detective Linda went on to explain every facet of this case. Thomas was interrogated at the police station that evening. He acknowledged that he and Rachel had been having an affair for a number of months. He sobbed while covering his face in the interrogation room. "I made an effort to break things off. I told her I wanted to value my family, but she thought otherwise." With a quivering voice, Thomas replied, "I never thought she would hurt my son." In a separate room, Rachel said that he had promised to accompany her throughout her interview. "My goal was to ruin Olivia's family." She testified, however, that she had grown bitter after Thomas recently attempted to break up with her and singled out Noah in retaliation. However, Detective Linda replied sharply, "Did you know the risks of harming a child?" With tears in her eyes, Rachel responded, "Do you realize how much he wounded me?" He said things like, "I want to cherish my family, but I was being serious." Anger and sadness were blended together in her voice. "However, I didn't believe Noah would be in any serious danger. I assumed Olivia would be upset and he would simply feel a bit queasy." Lily was also gently questioned by the police. "Weeping," Lily replied naively. "Give him a special biscuit," Mommy urged. "I wanted to be friends with Noah since I like him." The doctor cautioned that tests showed Noah had a severe peanut allergy, but that dire effects might be avoided with early treatment. He could respond more severely this time if a similar exposure occurs in the future. Rachel was taken into custody on suspicion of child abuse and malicious harm. Additionally, the child care facility was looked at for supervisory carelessness, namely for neglecting to keep an eye on questionable conduct on parent observation day. Martha and Olivia were extremely saddened by the treachery at a place they had trusted, but they were also thankful that Noah had not suffered any significant injuries. In particular, Olivia was unable to comprehend her husband's treachery and sobbed in the hospital lobby. "That night, I don't want to see Thomas's face." After being given permission to be released, Noah was brought to Martha's home. At Olivia's request, the police freed Thomas, but he went back to his parents' house. Olivia stated icily as they separated, "I trusted you, but because of you, my son was in danger. Right now, I am unable to think of anything. I require some space." Thomas only nodded as he was unable to respond. As Martha welcomed her daughter and grandson into her house, his face was filled with remorse and self-loathing. She considered the eventual harm to this family. Although trust is difficult to rebuild, she believed that for the time being, she should concentrate on the here and now, making sure her cherished grandchild was safe and mending her daughter's broken heart. In late November, a month after the event, Martha's window offered a glimpse of the garden's dropping leaves. As she drank her morning coffee, she silently looked out at the landscape. Since the tragedy, Olivia and Noah had been residing at her home. The sound of Noah racing down the stairs shattered the stillness of the morning. "Will I see Daddy today, Grandma?" Grinning, Martha brushed her fingers through her grandson's hair. Yes, at noon, Daddy will arrive. Despite the wall separating him and Olivia, Thomas had been going to see Noah twice a week. He was making every effort to carry out his paternal duties. In order to confront his faults, he had also started therapy. "Is your father a nasty person?" One day, Noah inquired, and Olivia was dumbfounded. Martha recalls softly responding, "Daddy loves you, even though he made a mistake." As she was getting breakfast ready, Olivia came into the kitchen. Although she had been on leave, she intended to start working again the next week. "Mom, As she poured coffee, Olivia remarked, "I received a call from the court yesterday. Rachel's sentencing appears to have been determined." After being found guilty in court, Rachel Rutherford received a sentence that included community service, probation, and required psychological therapy. "I was dominated by my emotions and hurt an innocent child," she had said in court, her voice shaking. "I'm not worthy of pardon." Lily had moved to a new daycare and moved in with her father. Additionally, Noah had begun going to a new daycare and was progressively getting back to his regular routine. Martha met Lily and her father at the grocery store that afternoon. When Lily first spotted Martha, she timidly hid behind her father, but she eventually found the bravery to approach. "Is Noah doing well?" Innocently, she inquired. She was unaware that she had harmed her pal. The fact that she could no longer play with Noah made her unhappy. Lily's father apologized and bent deeply. "My daughter had no knowledge. I'm so sorry." "I understand," Martha said politely. There was nothing wrong with Lily. Thomas and Noah were playing in the living room when she got home. Pretending to read a magazine, Olivia maintained a certain distance, but Martha saw her sometimes observing the two. Thomas had begged Olivia's forgiveness on several occasions and sincerely regretted his adultery and betrayal of his family. He had stated, "I want to get my family back." Olivia hadn't shut the door entirely, but she still couldn't let him inside her heart. Martha had self-reproach for failing to see the situation sooner and remorse for not being able to safeguard her grandchild. Noah asked Grandma one day if it was acceptable to pardon Lily's mother. Noah went on, "My buddy is Lily. She's a good child." Martha was prompted to consider what genuine family meant by that simple query. A letter showed up in the mailbox one Saturday morning. Rachel wrote a letter to Martha. "I want to apologize from the bottom of my heart, even if I will never be forgiven." As Martha read the letter, it said, she understood that forgiving was both necessary and difficult. Martha took Noah to the park the next Sunday. They watched ducks congregate to eat the bread while sitting on a seat by the lake in the nice fall weather. They made an offer. Lily and her father sat on the adjacent bench. Though they played far apart, the two kids sometimes grinned at each other. Martha smiled as she pondered, "A family is not formed just by blood relations. A genuine family is made up of ties that support and shield one another." She also reminded herself that forgetting and forgiving are two distinct things. Perhaps admitting faults, accepting responsibility, and continuing to work toward improvement constitute genuine atonement. Martha was starting to come to terms with a new kind of family as she watched Noah grin. Over time, the broken ties may be restored. Though she could see optimism, the trip would not be simple.